The Grinnell Glacier Trail is my favorite trail. I've done it over a dozen times. It has spectacular views, and it gives you the opportunity to walk right up to a glacier. It's just 7.5 miles if you take the boat. From the trailhead, it's about 12 miles. And from the hotel, it's a bit further. There's spectacular views all the way up the valley. But you have to be in shape to do it. No matter where you start, you're going to be at about 4,900 feet. The glacier is at about 6,500 feet, and with undulations, your total elevation gain will reach almost 2,000 feet. I've hiked it from the trailhead and via the boat. And because I don't know how you're going to do it, I'm going to show you both ways. I've never hiked it from the hotel, but the Swift Current Lake Trail does go around the lake and connects with our trailhead. As you can see, trailhead parking is very limited, and it fills up very early. And that's why some of you may have to extend your hike by either starting at the Mini Glacier Hotel or at the Swift Current Motor Inn parking lot. I hate to do this, but it's time for the commercial. These videos don't make themselves, so please subscribe and help support this channel. No one has done more videos on this park. Please like, subscribe, and comment. This is the trailhead. The park map says that this section of the trail is wheelchair accessible. And it is fairly smooth. And on a hot day, the shade is really nice. It continues in the trees for a few minutes until you reach this bridge, which is a nice spot for a photo. Just a few minutes later, you can see the lake. Then the trail goes along the shore of the lake until we reach our next lake, Lake Josephine. There's a 0.2-mile strip of land between the Swift Current boat dock and the dock on Lake Josephine. This little strip has a bit of upslope, but it's really the only climb on the way to Grinnell Lake. This is Lake Josephine. It's one of my favorite photo ops in the park, especially when the boat is at the dock. In the morning, Mount Gould and the lake is sunlit, and it's very pretty. The trail continues down the right side of the lake, with a great view of Mount Gould. There are fewer trees, so it's more open, and the sun, well, it might beat down on you. You'll see plenty of berries in this section, and remember that where there's berries, there will also be bears.
Hey, bear.
I've done this trail over 20 times, and I've never seen a bear on it. But I do follow bear safety procedures. I make noise. One day on the return leg from Grinnell Glacier, some fellow hikers asked me if I knew that I had just walked right under a bear.
Hey, bear.
And I said, no, I had no idea. Apparently because
Hey,
I
bear.
was making noise, and I did not surprise the bear, well, it left me alone. I could have been lucky, or maybe it's because I knew the rules. When you're a bit past halfway to the end of the lake, there's a fork in the trail. The left one goes to the boat dock. The right one goes up to the glacier. A few minutes later, we're high enough to see mist on the water. And we're at the point where the boat people join the trail. And now it's going to get awkward, because now we're going to go back to see how they got here. The tickets tend to go quickly, so it's best to get them online before you even get here. But if there's any left, you can get them here, or in the hotel. This is a tour boat, and they want to give you something for your $40. So it takes an indirect route while a guide talks and answers any questions.
As you can see here, way down the valley, that's Swift Current Mountain. You got good eyes, you can see the box on top, that's a fire lookout. Yes.
What's the temperature of the water?
The temperature, it's very, very cold water. So right.
At the other end of the lake, we make our 5-minute climb up that glacial moraine to Lake Josephine, and my favorite photo spot. This boat goes directly to the opposite dock. And on one trip, while I was struggling to find the autofocus button on my camera, there was a moose on shore. So it pays to look around. You never know what you're going to see. No matter the season, it can be cold in the morning. That's frost on the gangway. After the hike, when the boat picked us up, the temperature was near 70. Ranger hikes begin with a talk about safety. This is bear country, and it's the bears that have the right of way. We learned that the best way to avoid a bear encounter is to make noise. When a bear hears a human voice, it will likely get out of the way. But if you surprise a bear, it's likely to be unhappy, and you may have to use your bear spray to fend him off. This is a bit of a trail crossroads. Many trails connect here, so make sure you follow the signs and get on the right trail. The first time I took the boat, I may have been a little overconfident. I went the wrong way. I ended up at Lower Grinnell Lake, which added a couple of miles to my hike that day. The trail heads into the woods on a boardwalk over marshy ground, until there's a bridge over a stream, where there's another photo op. Just a few hundred yards from the boat landing, the climb begins. The trail gains a few hundred feet in the first 30 minutes, and on most days, the wind grows stronger. Soon, your efforts begin to pay off with amazing views of Mount Gould, which dominates the head of the valley. On ranger-led hikes, you'll have plenty of time to rest, as you learn about local geology, wildlife, or any other subject in which the ranger happens to be fluent. This ranger is into geology. She tells us sediments which make up the rock of the trail are very old. The layers were laid down hundreds of millions of years before even dinosaurs existed. Right next to the trail, there's evidence of the powerful forces which bent the rock and formed these mountains. She uses pieces of cloth to show how the layers of rock were bent and twisted by the forces. Look at how that rock is folded. The layers are almost vertical. On a rare, sunny, calm day, Lower Grinnell Lake is just gorgeous. The climb continues, and depending on the season, the foliage gets more colorful. While I struggle climbing, let me pass on something else that the ranger told us. The black band is 100 feet thick. It's an intrusive basalt that's 780 million years old. Back then, believe it or not, the North American plate was much nearer the equator, so it seems that the Earth has always been changing. Parts of the trail are trickier than others. Lower Grinnell Lake looks less gorgeous when it's cloudy and windy. We're walking over ripples that look like something you might see at the beach. And well, that's what they are. They're ripples. But these are even older than the black band. 600 million years older. I'm walking on what was once a tropical beach, and today it's 6,000 feet above sea level, which is more evidence of that constant change. There's a gentle rise over the next mile and a half, bringing Salamander Glacier into view. It's just above our destination. That saddle, it's accessible from the other side of the mountains, via the Highline Trail. If you're interested in knowing how to get there, subscribe to my channel and watch my Highline Trail video to see how I struggled to get to see the glacier from that point of view. There are fewer trees the higher up you go, and the views of the beautiful Lower Grinnell Lake get better and better. The lake gets its vibrant turquoise color from small rock particles that were scraped off by the glacier. There are other trails in this area. In fact, a trail on the opposite side of the valley leads to Piegan Pass. Bears aren't the only mammals on the trail. This little guy will try to get your food, but don't let him. In this section, Lower Grinnell Lake is a constant, beautiful companion. The scale of the scenery, it's hard to capture on camera. Somewhere up there is the trail. In a few minutes, we're beside another cliff face. In many places, the trail is little more than a narrow shelf carved into the rock. There are a number of water sources on the trail, but even in this remote location, parasites may be present. So water must be filtered before you drink it. And this source is near one of my favorite viewpoints. And if you time it right, there may even be lupins. The glacier is now only about a mile away. Then it gets steep again. About this point, the trail switches back and actually loses a couple hundred feet. There's a clearing with a gentle slope as you head back up. If this were midsummer, it would be filled with blooming beargrass. And then it gets steep again. It's a single track, wide enough for only a single person to pass at a time. Then there's an outcrop with another amazing view. At one point, it's so steep that stairs are cut into the rock. Soon, you can hear the waterfall at the end of the valley. and then another incredible view. Depending on your speed and how often you stop for pictures, you've been on the trail for about 2 hours by this point, and you've climbed about 1,200 feet. So yes, you do need to be reasonably fit, or an 8-year-old boy accompanied by his rightfully proud parents. At times, the trail can be quite narrow, but it's never scary or even risky. Soon you can hear the waterfall. Eventually, this meltwater will flow all the way to the Arctic Ocean. The trail was built in the early 1900s, but the first explorers bushwhacked their way up here in the 1850s. Back then, the ice extended all the way to the fall. Turn around to see where you've come, and you'll see the U-shaped signature of a glacier-carved valley and a string of aquamarine lakes. The boat dock, where we started, is at the near end of the second lake. Bears like this part of the trail because it's lined with berries. Ripe thimbleberries actually taste pretty good. Just before the rest area is the best view of the formation called the Angel's Wing. It looks like half the mountain was sheared off, and it was, by a glacier that once filled this valley. The rest area is a large open area with benches and a pit toilet. It's about 0.3 to 0.4 of a mile from the top of the trail. The hardest part of the hike is still to come. So this is a good place to stop, rest, have lunch, and maybe add a layer of clothing. Bighorn sheep frequently graze in the nearby meadow. This video was shot on a different day. If you're lucky enough to see a bighorn, remember that they are wild and unpredictable. The hike up the moraine to the Grinnell Glacier overlook is steep. It rises almost 400 feet, and for many it's the most strenuous part of the trail. When you're at the top, 4 miles from the boat dock, you may be tired, but the views are well worth the effort. If you're lucky, you may see a bighorn sheep up here too. Few continue to the glacier. Most just rest here and take in the amazing scenery. The glacier itself is still about a half mile away. Some even cool their feet in the very cold water. There's much to take in. The rock face is 3,000 feet high. The waterfall nearly 1,000. Like Lower Grinnell Lake, the water here gets its striking color from glacial flour, scraped off by the glacier. Most of those who make it up here know that the glacier is shrinking, and they want to see it before it's gone. This film crew is from Japanese television. As glaciers die, crevasses form near the edge, or foot of the glacier. Ice then breaks off and becomes a berg. Bergs now cover much of the upper Grinnell Lake. Over time, some of the bergs turn on their side, revealing ice layers that are hundreds of years old. Layers are also visible on the wall of the arête. They were laid down over 1 billion years ago. This is Salamander Glacier. In the early 1900s, it was connected to Grinnell Glacier. Today, the two glaciers are separated by hundreds of feet of rock. To get to the glacier, you'll have to cross a stream. I've seen just how fast the ice is melting. When I was here in 1995, the glacier was about 500 feet longer than it is today. Back then, there were still small ice caves, and the rangers were giving tours on the ice. The ice is now thin and flat. In fact, it's far too thin to walk on safely. Glacier melt isn't always bad news. In the 1930s, ice covered this spot. When it melted, it revealed 1.4 billion, that's with a B, year-old fossils of what was once the Earth's dominant species. These are stromatolite fossils. These humble algae colonies are responsible for giving the Earth its breathable oxygen. Before them, the atmosphere was carbon dioxide, but their waste gas was oxygen. They were formed in warm, shallow seas, proof that this ice-covered mountaintop was once a tropical shoreline. By now, you might be wondering what sort of effort is required to reach this spot. So I asked hiker Tim Curry about his thoughts.
And that last 0.4 of a mile was a little steeper than I expected.
So is the effort worth the view?
It was absolutely worth it. I would recommend this to anybody who's of sound limb, but I wouldn't recommend it to anybody who was not quite in shape for the mountain, because you do feel the altitude. It is a steep climb, it's very rocky, and you should be in shape for it.
And fitness clearly is not based on age. This grandma did it, and she's
77.
And she didn't take the boat. She started from the trailhead, 5.5 miles away. It took her 4 hours to get here. And what did she think of it?
It's marvelous.
The Grinnell Glacier Trail is one of the most scenic in North America, and one of the few that follows a glacial valley past stunning vistas with an incredible lake, and then ends at a remnant of the last ice age. This is more than a beautiful place. It's also a great place to learn something about geology, the earliest forms of life, and climate change. So when you're in Glacier National Park, if you do only one hike, the Grinnell Glacier Trail is the one to do.